Hi, everyone. We're doing things a little bit differently today for our interview at Wisdom Window. Today we are interviewing Andrew Flaxman. I'm really excited that we finally were able to connect. We've had a lot of technical difficulties that have been strange and have been a little bit frustrating for us. So we weren't able to do a video hangout, but this is how we roll. And we're going with an audio hangout, which will allow us to showcase the courses that Andrew has put up on Wisdom Window. So we're grateful for your patience, as we were supposed to have this interview a few days ago, and hope that you enjoy this time with us. Hi, Andrew. Welcome. It's great to finally make this connection.
Yes. Very good, Heidi. Finally, all things take time. All good things take time to happen.
Oh, isn't that the case? That is very true. So, Andrew, I would love to have you tell us a little bit about your background. I think it's always more fascinating to hear from the person than to listen to me just yap away. Plus, you can give us some insight into the experiences that you had in your own education that led you to create Classic Insights. So give us a background of your experience. I know it's very vast.
Well, I was a graduate of Princeton University, where I was very well educated, I thought, until in my late 30s, I awakened to another dimension in life that had completely escaped me. And through that experience, I then revisited the past that I had, and then I realized that when I was at Princeton, I had an automatic writing experience where the professor graded me A++. I had never read such a paper before, and that's how I was able to graduate with honors. But at the time, I didn't realize what had happened to me. And then when I revisited my life in my late 30s, I discovered this other dimension to thinking. It can be at a much higher level. You can use your imagination, inspiration, and intuition, and you could really make that work for you. Now, I uncovered this because a friend of mine told me I should read Rudolf Steiner. And the books he gave me, I looked at, and I could see that Steiner was a brilliant man. He died in 1925. But I thought he was Christ-centered, and that turned me off because I was brought up Jewish, and I could not sort of stomach a very brilliant man being Christ-centered, because for me, religion was something that was something that I couldn't handle and wasn't interested in. I had believed that religion was the cause for all of mankind's harm. And then in revisiting these things, I discovered that I had missed the basic things of life. When you refuse to read anything that you disagree with, your life is conditioned to be very narrow. So for the next 4 years, I read about 4 books a week, and then redid my education to include all sorts of things that I wouldn't even look at. And I discovered then that my Princeton education was missing a complete level of this sort of thing, where even though I majored in religion and ancient history at Princeton, the religion at Princeton is taught without any spiritual aspect at all. It was all taught in a very intellectual, dry way, which missed what liberal arts should do. Liberal arts really should liberate you from your presuppositions and should liberate you in terms of who you really are. We are all spiritual beings incarnated into flesh in one lifetime, but that's not who we really are. We really are many, many times that. We are really universal beings that are incarnated into flesh in one lifetime experience. So then I found a faculty who could understand what I was talking about, and then it was through this faculty that I developed a program that started with the Princeton experience that I had, but made much more inspirational and not just intellectual. So that's what you have there at at Wisdom Window.
Wisdom Window. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So you have many different courses. How did you choose what topics? How did you choose what people to study and create courses about?
Well, it was based on the courses that I had at Princeton, but then you use these professors who would introduce their own favorites and their own insights into these people. So I was the first graduate in my own program, and I learned things about Jung and Shakespeare and Plato that I had never really understood. Even you're in a certain sense, you're too young to appreciate education when you're at Princeton, when you're at college age. And so, like Princeton, you learn about the doctrines and dogmas of Plato, but you don't learn about what Plato really wanted to impart to you, and that was the spiritual implications of that. Now, also somebody like Rembrandt, which I took at Princeton. Rembrandt is a great spiritual teacher, but if you're not introduced to those concepts, you miss Rembrandt himself. And then what I did with these courses that these professors put together was that, first of all, the purpose is not to learn more and more about Plato or Rembrandt, but to learn the spiritual insights that they have to give about yourself and your own life. So it's an entirely different approach than what you get at college. It's not an abstract attempt to learn so much more about these different great masters. You learn what do they have to say to you about your own life. So every one of these courses was picked out by faculty who could understand what I wanted to do. And then I was able to edit these and introduce this holistic concept to education so that you don't get buried in these masters. For example, if Emerson had been understood in this manner, we would have a whole different country. Because Emerson is a great, great spiritual teacher. And his lessons, people study him at college, but they don't take his lessons seriously. Now, Thoreau too, another of these great people. You don't learn about Thoreau's understanding of prior life existence. These things are sort of left out because it's not convenient for our scientific materialism that we have today. These are very inconvenient concepts. But people themselves have them, and they just have to be reawakened. And one of Plato's basic concepts is that learning is to just educate, to take out what's inside yourself. And for Plato, truth is a question of unforgetting. Because you have these things inside yourself, you just have to be reminded of them. So that's the concept of every single topic we take now. There are 40 now that are listed on Wisdom Window, and everyone has the same format. It's just 12 pages, all getting you to try and remember these things that are already inside yourself.
So what are your favorite courses? What are the courses that really speak to you the most?
Benjamin Franklin is the one that touches me the most because he understood just what I'm saying, and he was reminded of what was inside himself when he came and when he met people that were Freemasons and Rosicrucians, and so he became a Freemason, and because of that, of course, our country was created. Our country could not have been created without a relationship with Freemasonry. And then when he went to England, he spent time getting to know the Rosicrucians there. Now, Rosicrucianism is much more scientific than Freemasonry, and Franklin was able to become a very, very famous scientist and introduced us to tremendous scientific innovations. Now, to understand these things, you have to have an understanding of the concept initiation. These people, all of the people, Rembrandt, Plato, Emerson, were all initiates, and they became inventors of all these great things, whether it's in art or science or government. But Franklin, if you learn about Franklin and the secret wisdom that he had, it will transform your life. Once you just get introduced to these concepts, you'll become awakened to them in yourself, and nobody's an exception to this. I get thank you notes all the time from people who appreciate being awakened. And
it's interesting.
Liberal arts. Yes, go ahead.
I homeschool my children, and one of the classes that we take, particularly that my son takes, is a class called Knights of Freedom. And the entire premise of that course is to read the biographies of great statesmen and philosophers and people like that who really had such an impact in shaping the world. But again, the same thing. We don't need to learn, how old Benjamin Franklin was when he signed the Declaration of Independence. Or what we need to learn is what his beliefs were and what his thoughts were and what he really had to teach us. So I agree. And as I am going through these courses with my son and going through reading these books with my son, I've found myself transformed just in, hey, I didn't know that about this person. So you're 100% accurate that school is, and I've been saying this for years, school is kind of wasted on the young,
It's wasted on the young, and also you're poisoned, particularly in a place as good as Princeton, which has such a smooth, wonderful curriculum, wonderful faculty, and wonderful administration. Still, it's all learning about the past and being stuck in the past. What's necessary is to wake yourself up to yourself, and that's how you get to think about thinking, which is the clue to waking yourself up. If you just get inside yourself, that's where the logos is. That's what all the religions try and teach. That is to wake up to the spirit that's inside yourself, to realize that you're a spiritual being, and all the great figures knew this. Now, Lincoln, who was not associated with Rosicrucian or Freemasonry, still, he did this exactly what you're saying. Now, Lincoln is an example that we use because he didn't go to college, but he was able to wake himself up with just what we're describing. And he saw that no matter who was against him, he knew that so long as he was in touch with a friend deep down inside himself, which is really the God inside yourself, you then become strong enough to do what is necessary to do no matter who is against you. And Lincoln, of course, was an example of this.
So are these courses accredited? Can you get college credit for them? How would that work?
You can get college credit for it by just writing essays on these different topics. And then you have a mentor that helps you. Now, the mentor, there are questions following each of these short lecture guides, which get you to do this process, that is to think what these insights mean to yourself, and then you have to respond to these questions. And then we have mentors for every one of these courses, so they're personal mentors, one-on-one, so you can relate to yourself and to this material and to these insights, and then have somebody who will respond to your responses. And then you can use these essays as college credit for any college really will accept these things. But we have affiliations with a few different colleges, so that if you want to go on and study with these colleges, you can.
So these would be ideal courses for a homeschool homeschooled teenager to take as well if they're looking for college credit and looking to go deeper in liberal arts and really learning these subjects, and that would help them if they transferred to a four-year university as well. Am I correct in making that assumption?
Yes, ideal for any homeschoolers who already has these same ideas and wants to try and implement them, and this would be marvelous for just what you're describing.
Perfect. Well, if I was a teacher and I wanted to use these courses as a curriculum or to become a mentor, what would that entail? What would I need to go through in order to do that?
You have to get one of our certificates, which are done, if you take 10 of these courses, you get a certificate for 10, and then a certificate for 20, and then a certificate for 30. And then you can turn around and become a mentor to others. Because you'll see it's really kind of simple because you really are doing what I said to do. You are the implementer for somebody to take what's inside themselves, because you already have this beauty inside yourself. You already have this wisdom inside yourself, and it's a question of just waking up and then being triggered. And sometimes just one sort of concept can trigger you, like. For me, I was triggered by a quote by Goethe. Rudolf Steiner gave a quote by Goethe saying that unless you learn how to suspend your likes and dislikes, your life will be filled with errors. And then that was the trigger that got me to rethink my whole life. Now, that was a good trigger for me, but for other people, it could be something else. It could be something from Walt Whitman. It could be something from Rembrandt. It could be something from Shakespeare. So that's what our essays do. They try and present you with this richness and present you with the opportunity to wake yourself up. And any mentor can do this once you understand it yourself. Heidi, you'd be a very good mentor.
Well, I come from generations and generations of teachers. So and I homeschool my children. And so, I'm looking at this thinking, gosh, this would be, my children are 11, almost 11 and 8, but even to just give them the basics of, for example, if I were to work with my son on the Benjamin Franklin course, he already has read Benjamin Franklin's biography. I mean, it wasn't a comprehensive, but it was a biography that was age appropriate for him and loved it. And these are things that he gets really excited about. And I love to see my 11-year-old get excited about statesmen and the people who helped shape our country. So I'm just looking at this thinking, gosh, this would be great to take his knowledge even deeper for things that he's already studied.
Yes, my grandchildren are my big followers. They're the ones who really are interested in these things too, not as much as my children. So you're right about that. You're absolutely right about that. And this is very exciting, and that's why I think Wisdom Windows is the perfect place for this to be presented, because this is, even the name is perfect. This is really trying to sell wisdom. Now what the colleges do is, that's a different story. That's intellectualism. That's not wisdom. And that's why the people you see on television, you see people in charge of things. They're very, very quick and very, very clever, but that's not wisdom that they're presenting. They're presenting very, very facile information and trying to go by the past and being stuck in the past. Now, when you think about thinking, as soon as you have a thought, that's already the past. And the trick is to learn how to think about thinking so that something fresh and new and intuitive and inspirational. So inspiration, intuition, and imagination are the three higher levels of thinking that we have to concentrate on, not just memorizing that a computer can do, not to just pick out the things from the past, but really get to use your imagination, intuition, and intuition.
Well, and we have access to so much information that, I've felt a pull to really teach my children. It's not about memorizing facts. It's about understanding how to learn and understanding how to do the research, because the information is out there. I mean, if I want to know, in fact, I looked it up last night, do 84-inch tension rods for curtains exist? Why, yes, they do, because I looked it up on my phone. I didn't have to get in the car and go to Target or Bed Bath & Beyond and go and look this up. I had instant access to, so if we're not teaching our children to think about the information that they need, then they're not going to know where to get the information that they need, but it's really that thought process.
That's right. It's the thought process that makes us human beings, and it's not the computer. It's the human beings that invented the computer. Now, as soon as you get an invention, people forget about how it was invented. Now, everything had to be created. So it's the creative process that's important to become aware of, not the invention itself. Even though it's fantastic as this world is with computers and the ability to do what you just did, Heidi, the trick is to be aware of the creative process itself. And that's, of course, what's inside yourself. So if you just awaken to that, this will change the whole world.
So if I'm looking at it from a perspective of, a mom who, I'm investing in my child's education, and we have a lot of homeschool families that are on Wisdom Window that are looking for, a really mentor-based curriculum that they can use in their own home. So if I'm a mom trying to create this in a sort of curriculum, where would you suggest that I start? There are 40-plus courses available, and, looking at them, there's how to build super self-confidence, how to learn really powerful thinking, how to overcome fear and anxiety, how to learn to forgive. And, where would you say get started with these courses first and then move into the next segment?
Yes, I would say start with it wouldn't matter what you start with, because it's all the same format. So it's all exactly what we've been talking about. And no matter what you start with, this will get you in that style or that fashion or that mode, so that the easiest ones are the ones on art, like Rembrandt. You don't even need to buy a book because the images are all on the internet. And that will teach you about getting in touch with your spiritual self through Rembrandt. But you can do it through music, too. You don't have to really read much in addition to listening to the music, say, of Mozart or Beethoven. But then if you're more intellectually inclined, you can look at one of the courses that is, say, on Goethe or on Hermann Hesse or Jung. But it doesn't matter, just because this is what I believe in, love and freedom. So this is what these courses all promote, love and freedom. So it's freedom for you to find out what you want to start with. But they're all the same. They're all the same format. And then in terms of government, they're marvelous courses on democracy. Or education, marvelous courses on education. So some of them have more reading than others, but they're all exactly the same format to really get you to open up to your own wisdom in yourself, which we all have.
Perfect. Now, you have the different courses up on Wisdom Window, but you also have it so that people can do a monthly subscription, which allows access to any of the courses for $47 a month, so that we can work through the courses at our own pace. What would just give me, what would you start with? Would you start with Benjamin Franklin? Someone like me that would be doing this with my children and, going through these courses and really helping them, what would be, obviously they know who Benjamin Franklin is because they've already studied. Would you start with that?
I don't think, for children, no, I would start with because Benjamin Franklin, it really would be very, very good for you, but for children to deal with Rosicrucianism and Freemasonry is really a little bit
intense,
too much. So I would suggest the course on democracy or the course, again, on music or art. But the important thing is to wake yourself up. You wake yourself up first, and then you'll be a much better parent, a much better teacher, no matter who you're teaching, and particularly for your children. But you already have a head start because you're homeschooling. So you're avoiding having the children being too poisoned by our educational system, because our educational system is completely dead and doesn't know it. So what you have to, but already if you're homeschooling, you already know that. Mm-hmm. So I would say any homeschooler is at a terrific advantage, and this would give you the higher education that you need to then transform it for your child.
Fabulous. Well, this has been really enlightening, and I'm really excited to take a look at these courses and, especially as my kids grow, to help them dive deeper, because that's something that's really, we focus a great deal on, reading. In fact, my cute son has been begging me for a new electronics console, a 3DS. And I said, oh, well, it's not Christmas, it's not any, holidays, it's not your birthday, it's not, and he came to me, I said to him, well, you show me why you think that you have earned this. And he came to me and had an entire sheet of paper, and it tallied up all of the pages of every book that he's read in probably the last year. And, he had the titles, he had, the number of pages, everything. And I told him last summer that I would pay him a penny per page. So in looking over this, I owe him $350 because I haven't paid up. And so I looked at that and I said, okay, you've earned this. You've really earned this. And
well, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I figure if a kid can go to those lengths, then in order to get what he wants, then he's doing something right.
Now the trouble with technology is so seductive, and then, of course, this is why, again, you're homeschooling. That's wonderful, but the older the child gets, and then the closer he gets to college is even more seductive than high school is. College, a place like Princeton, the best colleges in the country are the most seductive and the most where you'll be brainwashed, and so it will ruin this beautiful intelligence that these young kids have. And it's an intelligence, by the way, that's coupled with a morality and an ethical behavior and a niceness that really is going to get knocked out. Because, when I went to Princeton, you weren't allowed to teach about love. Now, this is incredible to have a higher education that doesn't consider love as an essential ingredient to education. So that's what you'll be able to avoid with what the courses that we've presented. It will give the parents the strength to deal with the world we live in, because the world we live in is really a world filled with hatred, and you don't have the strength for yourself to really promote love in this world. But that's what our program does. Every single course promotes love in the world.
Well, perfect. Well, I'm really excited to get started, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. I'm sorry about all of the struggles that we had, but hey, we worked through technology, right? There's always a way. We can always figure a way. And all of these courses can be purchased on Wisdom Window, as well as the $47 a month subscription membership. And so, I would encourage all of our members to take a look at that and continue your own education, not just your children's, but think of where you might have gaps in your education, or where you may really need to go deeper into the lessons that all of these mentors really are sharing with us, after hundreds of years. And I appreciate that you have taken the time to create these courses that I think are so valuable and will provide so much meaning, to true scholars. So thank you so much.
Very good, Heidi. Thank you so much for your patience and your understanding. Thank you very much, too.
You're welcome. All right. Well, have a fantastic day, and we'll get this recording put up, this audio and video, and everyone can enjoy these courses.
Thank you, Heidi. Bye.
Bye.